congratulations on this amazing film. I'm such a history buff and an Al Pacino buff, and you guys get to, swim in a wonderful, wonderful lake here because it's historical, it's
Yes.
based on the truth, and you get to work with Al Pacino. So I'll start with Meadow. What was it like, going up against, acting wise, Al Pacino?
The first moments were so terrifying. I can't even tell you. It's like, imagine the most intense roller coaster you've ever been on. That moment where it, and it catches everything because, we were going in a very intense scene. Our first day up was one of the most intense scenes where I'm in jail and it's the first time we're meeting. And Al comes in and you do all your work as an actor and you do all your prep, but nothing can prepare you to lock eyes with Al Pacino for the first time as him in character and me in character. And it was so intense. It's like, like clear. It was just so monumental for me. No feeling like it ever. But then you're on the ride. It just, everything takes over. Training, your prep, the character, they just take over and you're just on for the ride. But that moment is really, really intense. And
it's like jumping off a cliff, isn't it? Just you have to swallow and jump.
It is, and trust that your parachute will catch you because you are going. And Al's deep eyes are just like a well. You're just all the way in. But it was wonderful.
Swen, how about you? I mean, that's got to be intense working, in a courtroom scene with Al.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what more could you want? Working with one of the greatest living legends in the world alive today, sitting next to you in a courtroom for a couple of weeks, it truly was an experience of a lifetime. And it's something that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. And for me, you do your prep and everything like that. And then you have that moment of, there he is. And for me, it was a beautiful thing from day one. And I enjoyed every second of it. And I think it's a beautiful film. Al Pacino killed it in the role. Meadow killed it in the role. All of us, I think we made a beautiful movie. And I hope people get to enjoy it as well.
Meadow, taking on a role, of someone who actually lived has got to be a huge responsibility for an actress. You must have done a lot of research.
I did. I definitely
Mildred.
did. I read the books. I read the book this is based off of. I studied her thoroughly. I kept her pictures with me. There are a lot of pictures of her that I printed off, downloaded off the internet and got from books and things. I printed them down. I carried them in a satchel with me to set every day. I looked at her face a lot. I listened to her recordings that you can find online. There's quite a few of them still. And I listened to those and I really thought a lot about her. And Al told me the first day, he said, "Have you started to dream her yet?" And I was like, "What?" And he said, "You will."
Wow.
And sure enough, she did. He said that when he gets in a character, very often they wake him up at night and they stay in his mind at night and you dream their dreams. And I absolutely dreamed her dreams in Germany. We went to Germany. We visited Berlin before the film. They sent us over for 3 days. And I actually walked in the buildings where she worked. They still stand. And you could see where the Nazi flags used to be. You could see they left the things that hold them, just took the flag down. So, there was a lot of intense history there in Berlin. I had never been before. It's a beautiful city.
Meadow was so deep into character. She never drinks Coca-Cola. I've never in my entire life seen her drink a Coke. But when she was Mildred, when she was Axis Sally, she was drinking 3 Cokes a day on set. and it turned out that she drank Coke, so she was as deep as anyone can be.
The best one was one day, the director comes in and he says, "I want all of her makeup off for the scene where she's going to be discovered in hiding."
Mm.
And we have pictures of Mildred after she was discovered. She was actually in full makeup, because even when she was in hiding, she had her hair done like perfectly in a little updo that was like really dainty and perfect, even when she was in hiding. And when he said that to the room, everybody just kind of looked and froze. And I said, Mildred wouldn't like that. You know,
Wow.
Mildred, when she got caught, she had full makeup. She wouldn't like that. And he said, well, I want you to do it. And in the room, this drawer that was in front of me, it's made into the building, it's made into the makeup room. It opened and slid all the way out to touch my chest.
Wow.
And everybody in the room kind of went, Mildred's here. And the makeup artist said, we're not touching that. You know, Puerto Rican girls, they're very religious. We're not touching that. And the director's like, oh, it wouldn't be the first time a ghost haunted me. And he just walked out.
Wow.
He let us keep the makeup on. But I absolutely felt like Mildred was in the room. And she was saying, do not mess with that. This is a woman that kept her makeup on for radio. You know, she came in full makeup for radio. So, and every single time she believed that was part of being a public persona. And she was very much up for the job. She loved her custom dresses, her custom hats. Everything was polished. She was a very, very beautiful and glamorous woman. But I think she came back to visit us when we tried to change her image a little.
Now you guys have known each other for a while. You worked on a film before.
Yeah,
Yes,
we've
yes.
been together for 3.5 years. So it was an interesting experience being able to do a movie like this, where Billy Owen, there is a relationship that builds between the two of them. At first, it's a very kind of cold relationship, but then as the film progresses, there is that history that builds between these two.
Mm.
And I do feel like Billy Owen, my character, there's without him, the trial could have gone a different way. So it was a fun thing to be able to explore that with your partner and have that roller coaster ride and those things. And it was certainly very different. We were two different people that were living together.
It boils down to trust, doesn't it, between the actors and the characters?
Absolutely. And
Yes.
especially if you're, with the person, there's even that more of that trust that needs to be there, because you're so used to being with Meadow and Meadow with Swen, and all of a sudden it's Mildred with Billy. But we trust each other 100%, and I think that kind of fell into the characters.
Yeah.
Meadow, as more and more women are hopping behind the cameras, is that something you want to do, is direct and produce?
You would be amazed how many times I've been asked that. I can do a lot of the things that directors need to be able to do. I definitely understand actors, and I definitely can help an actor get to a place. And I think that's a very important part of being a director. And I definitely understand editing and what shot needs to go with what shot, and how you put them together. It's just so much work. I mean, it really is. I admire directors so intensely, because you have to have, your head in so many different places at once. And I think that's wonderful, and I applaud them, but I think I will leave the directing to the directors. I've edited many times. That's hard. And, as a director, you have to shoot for the edit. It's a lot. Do you direct?
I do. I direct and I produce and I edit. I have no formal education. I went to USC, so I'm really just out there somewhere.
But I feel like as actors, you kind of have to have, your overall, you got to know what the director is, the editing is, the lighting, and it all, it helps.
I think the better directors have acting in their belt somewhere, because there's an empathy and there's a shorthand that you have with other actors.
Yes, there is. And Michael Polish did act too. So he's one of those, our director. And Jason, our DP, was phenomenal.
Yeah. And the film is shot in a very noir kind of way too. It uses shadow. It uses the jail as it's a character, in the scenes. So I'm so excited about having people see this film. in our final moments that we have together, I'll start with Swen. I keep saying Sven, and
Actually, Sven is technically the correct way to say it. So,
and I've been right all along.
You've been right all along.
What do you think people are going to pull from the film once they see it?
I think that they'll find that if you're determined and if your willpower is strong enough, it'll get you through the toughest of times, because Mildred went through probably one of the toughest things that any human being can go through. And she trusted the people that were next to her. So I think the most important thing that people will take away is that no matter what life throws at you, no matter how difficult things get, if you just push through and think positive and know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel that you'll reach and better times are ahead, that will happen. And with Mildred, it's the same thing. She had the people around her. She had Billy, she had Laughlin, and she had the strongest will that anyone could have had. And in the end, she came out, you'll see.
Yeah. Meadow?
Oh, wow. That is very well said, sweetheart. I absolutely love Mildred. I grew to know her very deeply, and I feel like she was the first Me Too. She was the first woman who was sexually harassed and put in a situation where she had to work under someone who was absolutely abusing her. And I applaud her for her courage. And many women have had to live like that since her. And I felt like it was an homage to the kind of pain that someone goes through. She had her significant other die in front of her of a horrible disease. She lost so many friends in the war. I felt like I needed to really tell her story and to really tell the story of so many people who were flowers that might not have had their bouquet enjoyed by people or even understood or known. And I felt like she really had a lot that she lived through. And I was crying all the time on the set and in her life. For even months after, I would still cry if I started to talk about her life. It was so very intense. But war is hell. And a lot of people have lived through that. And we can't forget. We can't forget the things that people lived through in World War II. She was in the middle of people that were being taken from her and put in concentration camps. If anyone displeased the people that were above her, that's where they went. And sometimes they would shoot them right in the building. Like she would be working and they would take them away from her and shoot them. And this is what she was living with, and the constant threat that she was going to be put to death. So I feel that maybe in some way a lot of people have felt oppressed, and she is a woman that lived with it and came through it. And I applaud her courage and strength, as I do all women that are oppressed by anyone, in their life.
Yeah, the film does make that point that, she was a prisoner of war. She was told what to say. And unfortunately, in the reality of what happened, she was convicted of treason and was sent away for 30 years or so, and she got out in 61. Had the trial happened today, I think there would have been more leniency to what she had gone through. But you played her beautifully.
Thank you. And I think people are more understanding about women. We have evolved as a culture, and people definitely see what sexual harassment, what physical harassment, what these things really are. And it's no longer swept under the rug, and thank God for it. But I think in that time, women were more of a possession, and she was a strong, career-driven woman in a time when women were still treated as a possession. So I think she might have been one of the early ones that started to change things, And
well, God bless you guys for giving me this time this morning. You guys are great. My new best friends, I'll tell you.
Oh, yay!
Yay! We got another one.
When this COVID thing lifts off and I can get to LA or whatever, I'll take you guys out for a dinner. Let's
absolutely.
Let's hang.
We'd love to. 100%.
Wonderful, please.
You guys take care.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
You too. Bye bye.